Hello, and welcome to our show, Crooked Doctors. Today we have with us Patricia Waiters. She's an activist in Hoboken, New Jersey. She and I share common interests. Unfortunately, she has a little bit of an intestinal flu, so instead of being in the studio, she's going to call in. So she just went to the doctor. She's going home to give us a call in our call-in show. And while it takes a few minutes for her to settle herself in from getting back from the doctor, I'm going to give a little bit of background of who Patricia Waiters is, how we got to know each other, and how we have common interests, and how most recently we went to Trenton, New Jersey to demand justice, to demand action in our cases. So today is Friday, January 6, 2012, and let me give you a sense of who Patricia Waiters is. I'm going to show her, you know what, let me see if I can get her on the phone. Let's see if she's, I promised I'd give her 5 minutes to get in the house and then she'd call in. If not, I'll give her a buzz. But let's, I'm going to give you a photograph of, this is Patricia Waiters. And I met her when we were at a freeholders meeting, and I've known her for a while now. And this is the article I like about her the best. Actually, you know what? Let's take a look at her again, and I'll give you a little bit of her background before we get into this is Miss Patricia Waiters. She's a resident of Hoboken, New Jersey, and we met at a freeholders meeting. We've probably known each other a couple years so far. And the reason we started working together was because we have common interests, which are we're against crooked doctors, crooked judges, crooked police, a culture of corruption, and we decided to share forces and help each other. So we're at a freeholders meeting, and one of the reasons why the culture of corruption in New Jersey doesn't like me and Patricia Waiters is because in order to stop us, you have to break our will, and you're not going to break our will. There were members of a group that we put together, and I was talking to them this week when we accomplished some goals in Jersey. And one of the members of our group said to me, when I hear Patricia Waiters speak, when I hear you speak, Lydia, and I realized I should have fought my case harder and stronger. So there were a group of people in Jersey City and Hoboken. Our lives are being destroyed. And we decided to help each other. We got in a car before, we got in our cars before the holidays. We drove down to Trenton. We demanded an audience with our governor, Mr. Christie, who's also against public corruption. And we demanded an investigator. And we were successful this week in having our case referred to the State Attorney General's office. And I'm supposed to call them back on Monday. And we're moving our cases forward. One of the members of our group happens to be a 911 first responder, and he's interested in making sure that, for example, in Jersey City, if you're a 911 first responder and you go to Jersey City Medical Center, they will not lie. Those crooked doctors at Jersey City Medical Center are not going to lie about you the way they lied about Lidya Radin. So I'm going to take you over to Patricia Waiters because she's a mover and a shaker in Hoboken, and I brought up an article that I like the best about Patricia. So this kind of says it all. This is Patricia Waiters, and this is the article I like about her the best. I'm going to give you a little bit of her background. And basically, she will run for any office. She's a former corrections officer. And she's a recognizable member of the public at City Council and Board of Education meetings. She's known for her bold remarks and for being an advocate of the underserved. And what she wants is fairness and integrity. She's against corruption. Well, who is for corruption? She'll run for any office that might help her achieve her goal. What I really like about Patricia Waiters is she's a mover and a shaker, and she doesn't take no for an answer, And, you know, if you're going to put up a roadblock, she's going to climb over it. She's going to go around it. She's going to tunnel under it. She doesn't care. She's going to get the job done. Her life was destroyed in 2004. She was a corrections officer, and somebody told a lie about her. And the lie, she's been fighting the good fight to try to get justice and compensation and get her life back since 2004, and this should be her. Hello? Hello? Wait, let me get you, hello?
Hello?
Is this Patricia?
Yes, it is.
Patricia Waiters, you're on Public Access TV. How are you?
Oh, not so good. I'll be doing even better if I get some good luck this year.
Are you not feeling well?
Not really. A little under the weather, but I'm trying to hang in there.
I had your photograph up on before you called in, and let me put your photograph up again. You look great, girl. And I was telling the audience a little bit of background of our story, and we had met each other at a freeholders meeting. Is that correct?
Yes, it is. And it was my pleasure.
And I was talking to one of the members of our group. I don't want to say his name, but I was talking to him, and he said, when I hear Patricia Waiters speak, and when I hear you speak, Lidya Radin, I get fired up. And that's why we're dangerous, Patricia, because we inspire people. Because it doesn't matter what happens to us, our will not be broken.
That's good. That's a good thing. And I agree with you. Persistence pays off. That's what this is about. I'm glad that we do inspire people, because you have a lot of people that's not fighters. But people have to be more persistent and continue until they receive due process and justice of the law. And it's about not giving up.
That's right. And so I'm going to put your photograph up here again. I love this article of you with the picture that says the culture of corruption. And you're like, I'll do anything. I'll go anywhere. I'll run for any office. But I just want truth and justice. That's
right. Absolutely right. I also picket and protest out in front of the county executive's office. And it's like a smack in the face. He won again. But he think it's a win, because I don't think it's a win on my behalf and in my perspective, because I'm going to fight to the end to show you that he won illegally. It wasn't a fair election. And he's going to be a crook. We don't need another crook and corruption for another 4 years.
So let me put this in context a little bit for our viewing audience. I'm living in Jersey City, and as you know, I was physically assaulted and almost killed in Jersey City based on these crooked doctors. I'm fighting my case. I go over the Jersey City Council's head to the freeholders meeting. I start speaking at freeholders meetings. You're there, and we run into each other, and we're like, who are you? And I'm like, who are you? And we start to compare notes, and we join forces, because what we realized is that Hudson County is one of the most corrupt places on earth, frankly, right?
In the world, in the whole world. They beat the whole world for corruption.
And
we have Chicago beat.
And Patricia Waiters was a corrections officer. She had a promising career in front of her. Someone told a stupid lie, and the word was put. Can I tell them what the stupid lie was?
Please, please.
Okay, so she's a corrections officer in Hoboken, and she fights for Hoboken. One of the reasons why she's fighting now is because we just had an election for freeholders in Hudson County. That's why Dr. Stephen DeLuca was here. He was a guest on my show when he was running for office.
For county exec.
For county exec. And Hudson County executive is a very powerful position, because you hire, you fire, you deal with the budget.
That's right. And you supersede all the freeholders, all the prosecutors. Basically, you supersede the whole county of Hudson, all 14 mayors, and all the legislation under the Hudson County exec. So he holds a big pair of powerful shoes.
And so Tom DeGise is running for county exec. Dr. Stephen DeLuca, the Republican Party candidate, is running against him. And the reason they don't want Dr. DeLuca to win is because what Dr. DeLuca wants as part of his corrective action plan is an independent audit. And the last thing that any of these people want in Hudson County is an independent audit, because what you're going to discover is they're stealing like crazy. In my case, they committed Medicaid fraud. So we go to the Hudson County freeholders meeting. Patricia and I hook up together. I start talking to Dr. DeLuca, who's running for Hudson County exec. And what Dr. DeLuca informs us is that the last election in Hudson County is illegal. And it's illegal because the Democratic Party was supposed to do and say certain things before the election, and they're operating on...
And correct the census. The main thing was the number with the census.
Right.
The numbers of the votes is not accurate.
Exactly. Now, Patricia lives in Hoboken, so you got Jersey City, Hoboken, Union City, and they're all part of Hudson County. And the Democratic Party is having an election. That election is illegal because they're not working on districts, on updated district maps.
Right.
They're working on population or consensus figures that are 10 years old. So one of the things that Dr. DeLuca is saying, look, this election is unconstitutional, it's illegal, it's a disservice to the people of Hoboken. Why? Because in the last 10 years, the population of Hoboken has increased by 35%. So it's not one man, one vote. This last election cycle was illegal. So Patricia Waiters, I'm talking to her, I said, listen, we got to go down to Trenton, we got to scream our heads off, we want to talk to Governor Christie. He's big, he's bad, he's Christie, and we need him. Nobody messes with him. So I'm like, you know, we've got to talk to Governor Christie. It's an outrage. And then we start comparing notes about, it's not about the details of individual cases, and as Patricia Waiters pointed out, it's not about our party affiliations, it's not about labels, it's about we have crooked doctors, crooked judges, crooked
prosecutors,
police.
Government officials, judges. It's hard because the judicial system is totally screwed up and tainted. That's what it's about. It's all about stealing money and corruption.
And so we formed a group. We went down to Trenton. This was before the holidays. We brought a representative of the Reverend Al Sharpton's group. I'm a member of the National Action Network, by the way, and I still owe them dues, so I have to dash down and pay my dues for this year. When I was in Rikers, I was sending envoys to Reverend Sharpton. I wanted to go see if they wound up there because there were people, women I was in prison with, and I said, listen, your whole life can't be this Rikers Island. This is horrible. Go to Reverend Sharpton's organization. And they were like, we're not acceptable. I'm like, yes, you're acceptable. They're like, Reverend Sharpton won't like us because we're in jail. I'm like, he understands. You don't have to explain this to him. If you were wrong, suck it up and start doing right. And if you're illegally incarcerated like I am, then continue to fight the good fight. Reverend Sharpton wants to be proud of his people. And I sent women from Rikers. I'm like, you're going to go down. I remember one woman who was fired up, and she promised me she would join Reverend Sharpton's group when she got out of Rikers, and she would start to increase her skills and stuff. So I wanted to see if she did that. But Patricia got a member of Reverend Sharpton's organization in Jersey City to come with us. I hear you checked me out at the local NAACP. How did I check out?
Oh, it's good. It's good. They're really willing to support us 100%. Kalisha Dow, a full supporter. She's at the office every day. I informed her exactly what's going on and let her know our fight has only just begun. We're going to get true justice, not only for us, but for all the residents of Hudson County as a whole, and you and myself. We definitely need to get justice and due process of the real Constitution and the judicial system. We have to get these concerns asked. It affected you. You was forcibly incarcerated. It affected me. It ruined and destroyed my family and so many others that don't have the strength and the enthusiasm to fight like we do. They call me Persistent Patty. Ever since this happened to me, they know I'm not a quitter. I told them 1,000 times at every community meeting, don't give up until the fat lady sings, and that's what I mean. I'm going to fight this fight until the very end.
Well, Patricia, you're not fat. You're actually very attractive. You have to
Well,
see.
the fat lady's not going to sing no time soon. I got a powerful friend. I met you. I just got so much confidence, and I'm so happy when I met you. When you spoke, you remind me of myself. You made the hair stand up on my back. It was like my pleasure. I know this group is going to take off to the highest level. There's so many people, like I told you, unjust anywhere is unjust everywhere. There's so many people that's willing to join our group and organization because they was mistreated. They just don't know about how going to get justice, especially when you're dealing, Lidya. What's very important to know is when you're dealing with government officials that have high-power prosecutors, high-power people in the courts and in high places to protect them. You got to be really careful because they have high political interest people that's willing to put their neck on the line, and that's why they continue to do the corruption they do.
Patricia wanted to, after she heard me at a freeholders meeting, she checked me out with Talisa Dowling. Talisa Dowling is the local representative. She works
of
with
the NAACP.
She works with the NAACP. So Patricia said, Lydia, you know, I went and checked you out with Talisa Dowling over at the NAACP. And I was like, oh, what did she say? She's like, work with Lydia. She's good. I was like, oh, that's nice.
Yes, she knew you automatically.
I got Talisa Dowling. I said, you have to come with me to Reverend Sharpton's group. So before I was illegally incarcerated, I used to pick Talisa up and we would go to meetings at Reverend Sharp because I was living in Washington Heights. And Reverend Sharpton's group had defended me when, I want to say this because I got some criticism last week. I had criticized Israel a little bit. And people were like, don't criticize Israel. Don't criticize Israel. I'm like, why? Israel criticizes America. I don't see all Americans, or I don't see Americans organizing up and saying, oh, let's do bad things to Israelis because they criticize it. Nobody has a problem criticizing Israel. So God forbid I should say anything. There happen to be Orthodox Jews worldwide who don't agree with the state of Israel, what Israel is doing. There are Jewish human rights activists who criticize Israel. The paper that I referred to is based on the work of Israeli scholars. So one of the criticisms that I got from an independent producer here was, you need to talk a little bit more about the Bob Jones University case, and you need to get some basics in place. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to start making.
Well, about the university case too, Liddy, because like I told you, I just was interested in returning back to school too. And your case is really interesting because there are so many people, especially foreign students and stuff, that the government actually do the same thing with the fraud, with financial aid fraud. And it's like so big that you can't even imagine how big it is. You just was a small pea in the pot. Could you imagine how many other cases they did to people exactly what they did to you, and the person didn't know how to come forward? Some of them don't even understand English. Some of them don't really understand how to go about getting justification of rights of what they've been through. But see, you were smart enough and you was persistent and you continue to fight. Lydia, there's so many forgotten people that just gave up and was abused by the same abuse that you were subjected to.
This is true. So let me put this in context a little bit more. Patricia and I are at the freeholders meeting. I've been done, I was living in Jersey City. I'd moved to Jersey after I was illegally expelled from medical school. I'm living in Jersey. Horrible things happened to me in Jersey. The Hudson County prosecutor, Ed DeFazio, Tracy McQuaid, Debbie Simon refused to protect me. Patricia is over in Hoboken. So I'm in Jersey. Patricia's in Hoboken. This is like 2004. She's a corrections officer, and she's doing really good. She's like a model corrections officer. She comes to work, she knows her stuff, and when the state investigator...
The director always used me as an example when the state come in to question me. They always use me for like the poster child of the jail. I was persistent down to my shoes. Everything, I knew all the questions, I knew all of the code, I knew all the state laws and rules and regulations to maintain that jail to get a good grade. Every time the state stepped in, they used me. But when his wife falsely accused me of having sex and a sexual affair with him, my whole career went down the drain.
So here's Patricia Waiters. She's a model corrections officer. She wants a career in law enforcement. She comes to work pressed. She knows her stuff. And when the state inspectors come and they need to parade, the director of the jail needs to parade out someone to say, look how great our corrections officers are. They always ask Patricia Waiters to help make the jail look good. And she's spending a lot of time in the director's office. And somehow the director's wife came up with this stupid idea that they were having sex, which was not true. Is that correct, Patricia?
Yes, totally correct. And then she continuously called my house all times of the morning, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, harassing me. And she just wanted me gone, basically. So he faked up a record for me and maliciously came at me, targeted me, entrapment, and just abused me. Disparate treatment all the way to the end. I've been to EEOC, everybody for justice. But unfortunately, he was picked by the politicians, so there was no justice for me, and I lost my whole career.
So Patricia is in Hoboken, and the director of the jail, his wife comes up with this paranoid belief that Patricia is having this affair with her husband. It's not true. But the orders go out to get rid of Patricia. Now, how are you going to get rid of Patricia? Well, you got to trump up these stupid, I mean, the arguments that they came up against you, it's ridiculous. If you look, even the federal judge in the case says, this is stupid. You know, it's this little thing and this little thing and this little thing. And it's the same thing they did to me. It's episode after episode after episode after episode.
Absolutely. Went to fish and fish and fish and try to create something that wasn't there. That's exactly what happened to you. If there's nothing there, if it's not broke, they don't try to fix it. They try to destroy it. So they actually create stuff, Lydia. Oh, she's crazy. They send the cycle ward involved. They put everything involved in your record and give this true disparate treatment to you that, I mean, you're going to get a little emotional when somebody's treating you wrong. Don't get me wrong. But they look at it as you being crazy, which isn't fair. That's just another way they do little tactics to try to create something on you that's not there.
So Patricia and I, we don't really know what's going on because we're not socialized to crime and corruption. So we keep fighting these little episodes, and we're like, so it's not about, it's episode of harassment, 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 and if there's nothing there, they make it up until finally, you know, you get it. You're like, oh, I get it. The idea is just to destroy my life. And so Patricia is like all caught up in the details of these stupid little allegations that in and of themselves are ridiculous. And, you know, when I was talking to her a couple weeks ago, I'm like, Patricia, you didn't do anything wrong. They just had to trump up a reason to get rid of you.
Right, but when you acting on emotions, Lydia, when something first happened to you, like yourself, when you're acting on emotions, like I'm trying to tell you, you all over the place. You really don't grasp the real details, you know, and the detail be so minute, but you can't express yourself because you're under so much emotional stress. I had 3 severe strokes. I'm a single mother. My kids would have had nobody to raise them. I had 3 severe strokes because when unjustly things is done to you, you have a tendency of being emotional. You be stressed. I was depressed. So I didn't really know how to think. I didn't know how to maneuver. But what I did was start going to every superior court hearing. I went to the federal court cases, and I learned a lot about the law. So I learned how to control my emotions, and the problem was right in my face. It was right in my face staring at me. But when somebody do something wrong and corruption is so severe and it's just draining you, you don't know how to really react toward corruption. So that's what our group is trying to initiate now, where we can help other people that's under that same emotional stress, where we can say, listen, we here for you. We've been there, we've done that, we know the ins and outs of corruption. We're going to be the expertise of corruption, and we're going to really stamp it out. We're going to start right here in Hudson County, which ruined our life. And even though unjustly things had to happen to us, we know the details of corruption, and we want it to stop.
And so I want to, as I'm talking, I'm going to also bring up another photograph of you that I really like. When we went to Trenton, we put together a group of people. We went to Trenton before the holidays. And we demanded an investigator. We demanded to put the details of our cases on videotape. We want witnesses in the room with us. We want representation. When we went to Trenton and demanded an audience with the governor, Governor Christie, and demanded that our cases be taken seriously. And I got to tell you something. I talked to his staff, and I talked to them again today.
Do you really think they're going to come do for us, Lydia?
Oh, yeah. I have that's what I wanted to tell you. I have a telephone appointment to follow up on Monday, and I talked to the contact person. When we went there, we're like, look, we're had it with the bureaucratic runaround. Patricia Waiters has had 3 stress-induced strokes. She's been fighting, it's now 2012. She's been fighting the good fight since 2004. She's had 3 stress-induced strokes. She has children. They could be motherless today. So when I was sitting there talking to the assistant director or deputy director, I don't want to mention her name because I didn't tell her we were going to do this, but when you know the woman I'm talking about, right?
Right, absolutely.
So when I was talking to her, I'm like, look, I was physically assaulted at Jersey City Medical Center, left with serious bodily injury. I could have been left paralyzed or dead, and these people didn't stop. They continued to persecute me. And here's right. Patricia Waiters. So we're talking about premeditated attempted murder, okay? Right. Every step along the way, these people knew what they were doing. And the stupidity I have to listen to today is, oh, well, just because we said something doesn't mean we're responsible because you got beat up at Jersey City, Lydia. I'm like,
They are responsible, Lydia, because they put you in that perspective. Yes, they are responsible.
Right. And this is like law school 101 when this is law school 101. If you're in a theater, a crowded theater, and someone yells fire, and the stampede to the door, if someone is injured or killed, the person who yelled fire, knowing there was no fire, in order to cause that mass panic to the door, that person
totally right. Totally right.
This is law school 101. That person is responsible.
Thank you.
So when we went down to Trenton, I'm like, look, you take this seriously, because Patricia Waiters could be dead right now. I could be dead right now. We're not here to be nice anymore. I mean, of course, we're going to be professional, but we want this taken seriously.
And the main thing is that I think the people should know is we went down with facts. That's what supports our team. That what supports our efforts, because we got facts, and we will continue to give facts, and we do a thorough investigation. We bring them facts. I mean, you gave me the chills. When we're willing to give names and facts, that shows you that we have confidence in what we're saying, and we got strong, supportive evidence. And it appears that the court systems don't want those evidence to be brought out. They don't. They'll try endlessly. And I was told by a prosecutor, if you're a government official, they will fight to the end with every ounce of power to protect it, whether it's corrupted or not, with the highest strength of the law. I was told that by a prosecutor. We'll get away with it every time because they will fight a government official in their defense with the highest extent of the law.
They're not going to get away with it because, Patricia, you can fool some of the people. You know, you can't fool all the people all the time. And that's
they learned that with me. I'm sorry. I really think they learned that with me up until this point, because I didn't disappear, and I'm going to continue to fight. And I'm going to form this group and the nonprofit organization to see that no one ever has to experience what me and you went through. It's not right.
Wait, I just lost there's no way that they're going to get away with it. You can't fool all the people all the time. And another member of our group said the same thing. What we bring, we've got facts, we got the law, and we would have won years ago, except we have crooked judges and crooked law enforcement, and and crooked doctors. And when I was talking,
see those crooked doctors. Sorry to cut you off. Those crooked doctors, crooked law enforcement officials. Remember, they present to the court fraudulent evidence. And when they present to the court fraudulent evidence, that's what the court based their decisions on, Lydia. That's why we wasn't winning up until now. They've been basing their decision on what these people present to the courts. When you do a discovery, they're going to put whatever they want in the discovery, whether it's true or not. It's about winning to them, okay? And the whole time, we the victims and we lose. We are faced with the miscarriages of justice, but you got the high-power officials and doctors and prosecutors that submit fraudulent bases to the courts, and they win. And all of their facts they don't be facts, it be speculations, and it be fraudulent.
Right,
it don't
they
be
lie.
The truth.
That's the purpose of this show, is to show how they lied. So one of the things, you're going to love this. I was talking to an independent producer before this show, and he said, you know something, there's a movement here at MNN, at Manhattan Neighborhood Network, to bring cameras into the courtroom. They're like, look, if this is part of the public record, why should we rely on a corrupt system where transcripts are changed, where the court reporter will change keywords in a transcript?
Right, lady.
We're going to bring cameras.
This past Wednesday, I went to a kangaroo court hearing inside a disciplinary hearing, which involved my mom. They actually stopped the tape and controlled the tape themselves.
Right. So
you can't say that's accurate when they bring this type of information. It's already tainted. The information is tainted that they present to these courts.
So there's a movement here in this studio with independent producers to say, let's bring cameras into the courtroom. If it's an open public hearing, let's have cameras there. Let's have accurate records.
That's excellent. That's why at the freeholders you can bring cameras, you can do whatever. Because under the Sunshine Meeting laws, under the Open Public Meeting Act, cameras are allowed.
So to put this in context, I'm being persecuted in Jersey City. Patricia Waiters is being persecuted in Hoboken. We're fighting the good fight. We've got the law and the facts, and then we get together at the freeholders meeting, and we start to meet people like Dr. DeLuca, who says, listen, these elected officials took an oath to uphold the law. So when you come and say, when you put the facts on the record and you show this is how they lied, Jersey City Medical Center is particularly of concern because I have people like Alex Sanchez in the 911 community who says, hey, you know, our 911 first responders are sent to this hospital. Lidya, you're a test case. You have demonstrated irrefutably that doctors at Jersey City Medical Center will lie. We're not sending any one of our 911 first responders there. We're going to get, when doctors lie, people die. And we've had enough of that. How do I know? Because when Mr. Christie was prosecuting Shearing Plow, this was a huge pharmaceutical company in Jersey. I worked for Shearing Plow. I saw how those falsified records led to the deaths of 18 people. When I left that company, 18 people were dead. We've had it, okay?
Oh, my God.
Yeah, we'll get into those details too. So, yeah, Patricia, at this point in time, they are taking us seriously. And I'm supposed to follow up with the Attorney General's office on Monday and then inform the members of our group. Now, I'm told, you're going to love this, I'm told that I'm a terror in 2 states. So are you, Patricia, because when we work together, we want justice here in New York and in New Jersey.
Please, in Hudson County as a whole. Please, Hudson County, New Jersey as a whole, because we need it, especially in New York. In New York and Hudson County, it's sad that my son's away in college, and when you open up the book in Hudson County, they say corruption automatically. From any state you go in, they know Hudson County, that's their name, corruption.
So we're tired of the crime and corruption, and it's not about party affiliation.
Well, it's hard because it's the Democratic Party, the HCDO, which is the Hudson County Democratic Organization, has a lot of power. They have a lot of power up in government with the high government officials and a powerful political interest. So the lower man, all of the directors and other parts of administration, they abuse the system. They abuse the judicial system, so it's kind of hard fighting the government.
We got a group together, we got law, we got facts, we got ways to publicize the facts. You can't shut us up, and you cannot fool all the people all the time.
Tapes and strong testimonies like we have. I'm talking about legalized documentations, affidavits. I have time-stamped evidence. Every report, every incident report, I have facts on CDs, cassettes. I have testimonies from the directors of the jail. Tapes don't lie, just like transcripts. Transcripts can be tampered and changed, but your own tape-recorded evidence that you did yourself, I'm quite sure you can rely on, like I can rely on mine. My case has strong merit, and I have all the facts.
We got more evidence than we know what to do with. We've got witnesses, and the reason why we didn't get justice up till now was because a deliberately flawed record was created where anything that vindicated us was thrown out, and anything that made us look bad was kept in. I mean, I'm showing to my attorneys this week, this is an example of a pre-sentencing investigative report, and this is in New York. This is why we got to get Reverend Sharpton involved. This is a pre-sentencing investigative report.
Well, what about Governor Cuomo? You don't think the new governor you don't think we should reach out to him? I mean, he's new, Lydia, so it's like you got to give everybody a fair opportunity. So we went to Governor Christie. I think the governor would not allow that. He seems pretty fair.
Well, the first thing I want to do, Patricia, is go to our contact person at the State Attorney General's office in Jersey, and start there.
Okay, that sounds good. Hudson County, you mean?
Yeah, we start there, and then you know, we've got crime, we've got corruption, we've got crooked doctors. We want an investigator. We want to start pushing our cases forward, and
an independent investigator that's not linked with the political corruption that's been going on for years. We don't need an investigator that they're going to give $38,000 to let all this disappear, like they did the less investigators. The county did call in investigators from Colorado, the Boise group, just to give them $38,000 at the end of the day to say they had no findings. We don't need that.
Well, we're not going to do that because in my case, I mean, could it be more obvious? I have a pre-sentence investigative report that on page 3 says, the defendant, that's me, never talked to the probation's officers. And then on page 7, in order to portray me as a nut, it says, here's all the stuff Lidya Radin said. I mean, you don't have probation's officers who are so grossly incompetent that they don't know whether they talked to me or not. This is fraud.
First page 3 said you didn't talk to them, and then it says here what you said. How could you say anything if you didn't talk to them?
I know. This is criminal fraud. I mean, my attorneys are laughing at this. They're like, why do you even bother with the pretense? Why don't you just shoot her?
It's because it's amazing. People can't believe how ignorant some people are. They so used to corruption, Lydia, they don't even realize what they're doing themselves. On page 3, they're going to say you didn't have an interview, and then 2 pages later, they're going to say, oh, she talked.
Right.
Did you talk without having an interview?
No.
Come on.
No. So I subpoenaed the...
Unbelievable.
I mean, like, with no pun intended, this is black and white. I mean, could it be any more obvious? Page 3, the defendant never talked to us. Page 7, here's all the stuff she said so we can make her look like a lunatic. Because what are you going to say? You know, Yeshiva University is going to say Lidya Radin's a lovely person. She discovered federal student loan fraud. She discovered crime after crime after crime.
They're not going to tell you that. They're not going to tell you the good about Lidya Radin.
And you know something? Reverend Sharpton needs to hear about this. And my Congressman Rangel, Charlie Rangel, needs to hear about this. And the FBI, I'm going to start... Patricia, are you game? Because I'm going to make a little phone call right now. You want to listen into this?
Yes.
Okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to call this phone number. Can you hear me good?
Yes, I can hear you good, loud and clear.
Okay, here we go. Because the purpose of this show is to drive stuff forward, drive our cases forward, because we've had it. Watch, they'll hang up on me because they're such cowards.
All right, you're gonna give me a number?
No, you stay on the line. I'm calling. Hold on, wait.
All righty, I'm here.
Hold on. Okay. I'm calling hold on just 1 second. Hi, is this the FBI in Manhattan? Patricia Waiters, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. My name is Lidya Radin. Can you put me through to the duty agent, please? Hello? Hi, is this the FBI duty agent in Manhattan? My name is Lidya Radin. I understand that I'm on a list and you people aren't supposed to talk to me. Is that correct? My first name is Lidya, L-I-D-Y-A. My last name is Radin, R-A-D-I-N. Mike Gaeta was supposed to have someone contact me over 6 months ago. Radin, R-A-D-I-N. I spoke to Mike Gaeta over 6 months ago about crimes in my case, and he was supposed to have someone contact me. It was over 6 months. I hand-delivered documentary evidence to 26 Federal Plaza. I have a police detective who lied in my case. I've got four federal judges who fabricated a ruling to hurt me. I've got 3 probation officers at Rikers Island who lied, and I caught the Rikers Island Mental Health Department in criminal fraud, pretending to treat me as a patient and charging Medicaid when I'm not their patient. When does the FBI send someone out so I can stop the crimes towards me, sir?
That's right. Is that the FBI on the line?
Yes, yes, Patricia Waiters. I have the FBI duty agent on the line. By the way, I have you on a live TV show at Manhattan Neighborhood Network because I'm really sick and tired of the runaround. I'll tell you what, okay, you can take this down. My first name is Lidya, L-I-D-Y-A.
And get his name, please.
They don't give you their names there's reasons why they won't do that. My first name is Lidya. My last name is Radin, R-A-D-I-N. Do you have that, sir? Okay, my cell phone number is 516-445-4390. Mike Gaeta is I was told he was on the supervisory level at the FBI. I discussed with him over 6 months ago how a New York City police detective, that's Detective Cologne from the 34th Precinct, lied on the witness stand, committed perjury on the witness stand in order to illegally convict and illegally incarcerate me. I'm putting evidence on over at Manhattan Neighborhood Network on Public Access TV. I'm broadcasting live. By the way, you're on the live TV show right now. I'm streaming live on the internet. What does it take to get the FBI to protect my life against people who falsely accuse me of being a terrorist, for God's sakes?
He's still talking, Lydia?
Yeah. He's still, I have Patricia Waiters. She's an act, go ahead. Yes, I do. I called him. I talked to him. He promised me over 6 months ago that I would be contacted by an agent from the FBI so we could stop the crimes in my case. I want criminal prosecution. I've had it.
And they haven't heard from you as of yet?
And they didn't bother contacting me. I have a live call-in show, and I have an activist from Hoboken, Patricia Waiters, who's called in. We were successful in going down to Governor Christie's office and having our cases referred to the State Attorney General's office. But when I come into Good. Okay. Please do. I filled out numerous, I hand-delivered documentary evidence to did that. Mike Gaeta refuses to return my calls. So if you'd be so kind as to give Mike Gaeta a message and say, Mr. Gaeta, you promised me over 6 months ago that someone would contact me. How come someone hasn't done that by now? I would appreciate it, sir. Okay, or any FBI agent. I have a police detective who lied on the witness stand to illegally incarcerate me.
And you have evidence, supporting evidence.
Okay, I'm not yelling at you. I apologize. I'm trying to project because...
See, that's what I mean. Tell them you don't mean to get emotional, Lydia, but it's hard.
I know. No, I'm just projecting because we're on a live TV show. I shouldn't have to go to the extremes where I'm outing... Okay, I apologize. I understand. I wasn't yelling at you. I'm projecting because I'm on a live TV show and I want to make sure that I'm heard and understood. I contacted the FBI. I hand-delivered evidence. I was told first it was lost, then it wasn't lost, then it was found, then it was downplayed. The bottom line is I've been given the bureaucratic runaround, and I was promised by Mr. Mike Gaeta over 6 months ago that someone would reach out to me and then an investigator would be sent out, and that has not happened. So if you would put my request through, and if I have to for the upteenth time, hand-deliver irrefutable documentary. I have a pre-sentencing investigative report in my hands where a probation's officer says on page 3, I never talked to them, and then on page 7 they say, here's all the stuff she said. Now, the probation's officers in New York City are not so grossly incompetent that they don't know whether they talked to me or not. This is deliberate fraud. I have I have my medical records from Rikers Island where I was illegally incarcerated, where they... Okay, what would you like me to do so that I can get some action?
They're going to promise you another 6 months, and nobody's going to call.
What got me into this predicament was John's... Sure. The FBI has asked me to hold on, Patricia.
Lydia, but you see, that's what I'm saying. That's why they can't give you a name, first of all, and they're going to just pull it back and forth and play hot potato, give it to each other. And then you got to go explain to the next one they put on the line and the next one, the next one. It becomes frustrating. Then when you yell a little bit and get a little voice, they go, oh, don't yell at me. It's nothing personal. Your voice is going to automatically do that when you tired of the runaround, just like you did the individual when we was down at Governor Christie's office, remember? And I started to feel sorry for her, and I'm like, Lydia, you yelling. But it's not that you yelling. You get emotional because you're tired of the lies.
Well, actually, I wasn't yelling. I was being assertive, and I'm not frustrated. I'm a crime victim, and the reason why no one wants to do anything is because There are a lot of important people involved. That's not my problem.
Right, but see, what I like, too, is the way you just handled that. When you said, sir, I apologize, it was very apologetic. However, you said, I want my voice to be heard and I want some action.
Yeah.
Because he got to know 6 months ago was a long time. That's a half a year. You said I hand-delivered it. What part you don't understand?
Oh.
I hand-delivered it. That's wrong. I tell people, if you can't help me, don't hurt me. Tell me something. Don't keep me waiting. I don't like no false information. I don't like that. Don't give me false hopes. Oh, Miss Radin, we're going to get back in touch with you. When? 6 months then passed.
Well, the first time I went down, as soon as I got out of Rikers Island, what I did is I organized up the evidence and I hand-delivered it at 26 Federal Plaza. And the first bogus excuse I got was, oh, we lost it. I'm like, are you kidding me? When an innocent victim walks into 26 Federal Plaza in Manhattan and hand-delivers evidence to the FBI, they claim they've lost it? Are you?
I would have said, guess what? I would have said, here's another copy. That's why I get 15 copies of everything.
But it's a runaround. So then they found it. Then they said, oh, it has no merit. Then it did have some merit, but then it was low priority. I'm like, it's the highest priority the FBI has is four federal judges who are upholding fabricated rulings that say a university can lie about a student's past. When you have federal judges who are making rulings up, wholesale fabricating rulings, when you've got corrections officers, 3, who are making stuff up, when you've got the entire mental health department at Rikers Island claiming that I'm a patient when I'm not, when they're violating state law,
we still
so they can
find a way to fight Rikers Island. They found my brother dead in Rikers Island 3 years ago in the bathroom, and we didn't get no answers. And we still didn't get no answers. They found my brother dead, my blood brother.
Let me just finish this, and then we'll get to your experience with Rikers Island. I've got the entire mental health department claiming I'm a patient when I'm not, so they can bill Medicaid. This is Medicaid fraud. It's got to stop somewhere. Do you want to talk about? There is a way to fight Rikers Island, and we're doing it. Do you want to talk about your brother at Rikers Island?
Yes,
Patricia?
please, because my mother didn't get no answers. The last thing they told us, they was waiting for a report from the medical examiners. I said, listen, I'm a correction officer also. 2 correction officers gets on the phone and lied. First they say apparently he had a seizure. Then they said apparently he was jumped. Then they said he was in medical. They couldn't find where he was. They just called my mother 2 days before Thanksgiving and told us come and identify his body. And they found him in the bathroom dead in Rikers Island.
So in order to stay focused, we got our group, we pushed things through. I can't believe they still have me on hold. They're probably horribly embarrassed. The last time I talked to the FBI at 26 Federal, when I called the phone number for New York, they're like, what we can tell you, Lydia, is that you're on a list and we're not supposed to take you seriously. Yeah, because 3 steps behind me is a guy named Jimmy David. He's a dishonest psychiatrist from my medical school, and he lied. All the complaining witnesses...
Yeah, but see, when you just now gave a name, Greg, what's the name you just gave him of another detective? You said, I spoke to a detective that said someone's going to get back in touch with me. You gave him a name.
Mike Gaeta. Mike Gaeta was supposed to be on a supervisory level at the FBI. And
and that's what I'm telling you. So then guess what? They get a little intimidated because he told you to hold on. You said, I'm on a TV show, so they don't know if you're really exposing them or you really looking for help. I'm telling you, that's why he did that. Because I noticed he kept questioning you. And then he goes, hold on, because you said, I'm on a live TV show. Right away, people don't like media pressure. I'm telling you. When they get media exposure, watch you get something done. It's sad that that's the only way you got to get something done is through the media's eyes, but that's when they pay you some attention. Seriously. They're going to give you more attention now than the day you really walked in there because you told them, I'm on a media. Hi, I have Patricia Waiters on the phone. I'm on a media, on the telephone, on a television show. They trust me, Lydia. They're going to take you serious now.
Patricia, you know how frightening it is when four federal judges fabricated, wholesale made-up rulings so any university can lie about a student's past? I have the Manhattan District Attorney's Office that had my letters of recommendation refused to give them to me. My letters of recommendation have been tampered with. It would have never occurred to me as an honors graduate of Columbia University in 1994. I'm a February graduate of... And I worked hard to get through Columbia University. I have a Bachelor of Science degree. I had offers to go to 3 medical schools. Oh, man. I had offers to go to 3 medical schools, it would have never occurred to me that my medical school would withhold and destroy my letters of recommendation so they could lie about my past. So, Patricia, one of the things
But the teachers that gave you the letters of recommendation, you just can't go get copies, Lidya?
Yeah, I mean, I'm doing that, but, you know, it's ridiculous that, you know, one of my letters of recommendation was from Mike Prodigal, and he gave me a replacement letter. My letter from Marco Pagnato when he was a professor teaching chemistry at Barnard College is ridiculous. They tampered with my evidence. They changed. In one case, I signed a waiver as I was applying to medical school where I agreed not to see my letters of recommendation pursuant to an application to medical school, not pursuant to a need to defend myself at criminal trial. So in order to lie to Judge Simpson in my case, they took a form that I filled out in 1993 and they changed
that, like with your signature.
No, they changed the 3 to a 9. They changed the date so they could lie to Judge Simpson and say, oh, she waived her rights to see her letters of recommendation, so they could lie about my past and say I never worked at Senator Moynihan's office. I did. I can draw a floor plan of the office. I can talk about the idiosyncrasies of the staff. I can talk about the cases I handled. Do you know how sick that is that a medical school would destroy a student's letter of recommendation for when she worked in the senator's office so she could lie, so they could lie about a student's past? That means, Patricia, you know, when I stood up at the freeholders meeting, were you there the day I was talking to Freeholder O'Day? And
yes, and I seen you held up a tape too.
And I was talking to Freeholder O'Day, and I said, listen, this isn't about me. We got to go to Rutgers University because Yeshiva University's medical school recruits students, pre-med students from Rutgers University. No pre-med, you would not imagine that your medical school would take your letters of recommendation and destroy them or withhold them or tamper with them so that they could lie about your past. And I'm talking to Freeholder O'Day, and I'm like, what have we done to go to Rutgers University? Because I got a list of all the schools that Yeshiva University's medical school recruits from, including the United States Military Academy at West Point, which is one of the reasons I went up to West Point and said, you can't send your cadets to this school. They'll lie. They'll lie. Can you imagine if you're a cadet and you go to the Albert Einstein College of Medicine and then 5 years out, 10 years out, 15 years out, 20 years out, you start to speak truth to power, and Yeshiva University destroys your letters of recommendation so they can lie about your past? Do you know how frightening that is?
Of course. I told you that's like identity theft. It's just the same as a person feel with identity theft. They change all who you are and what you stand for, of course.
So, you know, when the first thing I did was I called the United States Air Force Academy at Colorado Springs, and I got the pre-med advisor on the phone, and I made her promise me, you make sure you educate your pre-med students, and you make sure, because they send about, I forget the numbers, but they send, you know, students to medical school and nursing school, I'm like, and law school. I'm like, you make sure that your young cadets, you educate their parents and the kids to independently archive your letters of recommendation, your performance evaluations too, because at any time I'm demonstrating irrefutably, Lidya Radin is your test case, that the Albert Einstein College of Medicine of Yeshiva University will lie about a student's past, and four federal judges will help them lie. The FBI has no higher priority than federal judges who lie. They need to come off the bench. They lied to steal money from me. When 4 federal judges uphold a deliberately fabricated ruling so a medical school can lie to steal money in a state TAP program, in a federal Pell program, in a federal student loan program, so that they can lie on my transcripts. I can't even get an accurate transcript, so they can falsify medical records and financial records. The FBI has to take those judges off the bench.
That's right, so it won't happen to nobody else. And a good thing you called the academy to warn them, to warn the other students that's coming in so the same thing won't happen to them. That shows you have a good heart and good intention.
And so we're nearing towards the end. We've got, it's 6:53, 6:54, and we got about 4 minutes left. So the bottom line is, the FBI they put me on hold. They're never going to answer this. They're embarrassed. They're ashamed. They should be. So, you know, I'm going to continue to hold, but they're not going to do anything. Does an American woman on American soil in a time of war, Patricia, have to go through these kind of heroic efforts to make sure that she's not stalked like an animal and murdered? Have you ever heard of such a thing in your life?
It's scary. It's scary even knowing that. You have to watch your back. It's scary. It's not right.
So I would like to...
I couldn't imagine I don't wish it on my own enemy, what it would feel like. Me working at a prison, I know how it feels being in jail forcibly, even though I was there getting paid by choice, but I can imagine how a poor inmate feels that's in jail and is innocent. It's sad. It's disturbing.
Okay. Apparently, the FBI has put me on hold. Let me call them. I'm probably not going to get through.
Yeah, because they got you on hold, and if you call the line, probably busy. They probably see the light and don't pick up.
Well, what you do is you call the FBI duty agent, and then what they usually do is they put you through to the duty agent, and then what you usually do is you get through to the FBI duty agent, and then they're supposed to take your complaint. I mean, Patricia, after I got out of Rikers, I'm hand delivering evidence. I gave my falsified medical records to the Board of Corrections, and the Board of Corrections went down, and they got admissions of guilt from these doctors. The doctors at Rikers Island claim that I'm their patient. They created false medical records, and then they had the temerity, the cheek, the gall to bill Medicaid. Your tax dollars in action, ladies and gentlemen. I was never their patient. This is a violation of New York State law. In order for me to be a psychiatric patient at Rikers, I'm not a patient at Rikers Island. They claimed they were providing me with group therapy. I had a corrections officer at Rikers Island laughing. She's like, Lydia, I've been a corrections officer here for like 7 years. There's no group therapy at Rikers Island mental health department.
Oh, my God. And they made up the whole case.
They lied so they could bill Medicaid. And you know what's really sad about this, Patricia? You know what this costs? In order to keep someone in Rikers Island for a year is $50,000 to $70,000.
Thank you. That's what I was going to say. Could you imagine how many other patients they did that to and getting that money from the government, from Medicaid?
When we go to the teachers union and we say for the amount of money that this cost, you could have had good teachers teaching your children, but it was more important to do Yeshiva University's dirty work than to provide a salary for a good teacher. I believe, Patricia, that we're going to have the teachers union on our side. What do you think?
Yes, we should, because all of that money right now they saying is missing, and they cutting teachers, and you got layoffs. A lot of teachers was forced to resign and retire. And the Medicaid fraud is wrapped up with billions and zillions of dollars through Medicaid fraud. A lot of doctors, like they did to my daughter, put dentures on her teeth that she didn't need because they knew we got Medicaid. My girlfriend's daughter needed her teeth fixed, and they wouldn't even approve her because she didn't have Medicaid. They steal billions of dollars from Medicaid every year, billions.
So we got Medicaid fraud right here. We've got about 2 minutes.
So imagine vulnerable people in prison.
Yeah.
Vulnerable people that's in prison, they get sick, and they give them Medicaid. They get Medicaid automatically. They raking in billions in these prisons from Medicaid.
Your tax dollars thrown away. And thank God, we're going to go out in about 15 seconds. Thank you, Patricia Waiters. When you feel stronger, when you recover from the stomach virus you got, I want you on my show so we can start.
I will definitely come and visit, and I will encourage everyone to join our organization.
And what we're going to start doing is putting and we're out. Thank you. Patricia, you still there?
Yes, thank you so much for having me.
No, we're out. What you're going to do is you're going to come on my show, and we're going to go through the details slower so people can understand. And I'm going to make a series of videos that just deal with litigation point after litigation point after litigation point.